Since we're talking about regulation, we have to talk about Grayscale and the SEC. So Grayscale disclosing SEC queries says crypto, XLM, Zcash, ZEN, maybe securities. And if you guys don't know, these are part of Grayscale's assets under management. And these three assets make up approximately $18.7 billion. And there's just a bunch of uncertainty whether these tokens are securities or not. I actually want to toss this over to Zach for his thoughts.
Well, we saw this in the motion against Coinbase, not these particular cryptos being named, but these are additional ones that are being named that may fall under additional regulatory scrutiny, right? There may be additional disclosures that are required of these assets. There may be additional hoops that listers on the exchange side have to jump through. And this is potentially difficult for some of these projects, right? They've sort of long maintained that these are cryptocurrencies or these are commodities. These are not securities. These are not investment contracts in the particular projects that are standing up these blockchains and supporting their growth. So for these to be added to the list, some of it makes sense, right? We've seen XRP; they're in a long running securities lawsuit. XLM, right? X code that is, I think, it was forked from XRP way long ago, right? So the fact that that's included maybe makes some sense. That these others are also included and under scrutiny seems to be in keeping with what the SEC is thinking as it relates to some of these digital assets. And I think it is incumbent upon the Grayscales and the Coinbases of the world to now say, hey, we need the clarity here so that we're not just doing this on a piecemeal basis after we've spun up business operations around these various assets that we've understood to operate under different frameworks than what you're now saying they should exist under. So that's where this becomes, contentious, and that's where it becomes interesting to see what comes next. One note: Grayscale, sister company of CoinDesk. Doesn't matter. We're still talking about the news, but you should know that Grayscale, CoinDesk, both owned by Digital Currency Group. I will throw it to Jen for her initial thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so the article said for the first time in August, Grayscale acknowledges that Zcash, Horizon, and Stellar may be a security based on the facts as they exist today. And so that's different than the facts that they are citing from May and June, which is interesting because I don't think anything has drastically changed about any of these three tokens from June to August. I think what has changed is the SEC's comments and actions towards tokens. And it's interesting to see the industry react. So again, later in the article, there is a memo from external security lawyers that's cited. It says that the memo wasn't detailed, but what I can gather from that is lawyers are probably looking at crypto tokens in a much different way, given a lot of the news that's come out about the SEC recently, and it's going to change how the crypto industry, I think, reacts to Will's point earlier. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, well, look at the numbers here. So $40 billion is the assets under management for the funds across BTC, ETH, and then a bunch of other trusts in there as well for Grayscale. 40 million involves Zcash, ZEN, and XLM. So not very much, 1% if I'm doing my decimals correctly. So pretty tiny. But for the larger ecosystem, that is pretty troublesome, right? This is a large stake in the ecosystem. Zcash is basically like the privacy coin. Monero's out there as well, but when I think of privacy coins, I really think of Zcash first because that's what it's really put itself into. And there is a company, Electric Coin Company, there is a foundation, Zcash Foundation, and they're out there. And if they get classified as securities, like that is troublesome for those, as well as all the privacy coins that are out there as well, right? Like, what does it mean to be a privacy coin, and what does it mean to be a token at all if you're going to have the securities labels thrown on you? Was it 7 years after Zcash launched? I think it launched in 2016, and it didn't launch with a pre-mine. It launched with a pretty fair supply schedule, just like Bitcoin. The only difference I'd say is there was a founder share in there, so maybe that's what they're looking at, right? There was like a founder share built into the mining protocol itself, which has now expired, but it was there for about 5 years. I don't know enough about ZEN or XLM to say much, besides maybe XLM did have a code fork from Ripple and from XRP, and so perhaps that is why there's some sort of scrutiny about this. I don't know. It's hard to say that the regulators are looking at these like so specifically and know the ins and outs of all these coins, and that's why they're coming up with these different classifications for them. Pretty troublesome though if you're looking at the larger market. Like these three getting knocked would mean a lot for all the tokens that are out there. Wendy, I'll give it to you for last take.
It's just going to be really sad for any projects that are incorporating any of these coins or any coins that do get hit by the SEC. That was my final thoughts on that.